In this video 2-5 we will be multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So you should be able to say by the end of the video and work time in class, I can multiply and divide rational numbers. Here are the steps we will follow. So on your input. Number 1, the first thing, change any mixed number to improper. Step 2 is only for division problems with rational numbers, where you find the reciprocal of the second fraction. Step 3, reduce, if you can. Step 4, multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. Step 5, reduce. Step 6, change any improper fractions into mixed numbers. Number 1 for our input for an example here. Step 1, change mixed to improper. We don't have to do here. We don't have mixed numbers. Step 2 is only for division, and you can see we have a multiplication problem. Step 3, reduce. This is where we look at the integers, and I can see here 4 and 12 have a common factor of 4, so I'm going to reduce both the negative 4 and the 12 by 4. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1, and 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. And you want to do this before you multiply because it makes the number smaller, which then in the end makes the multiplication easier for you. 5 and 7 don't have a common factor other than 1. Step 4, multiply the numerators. So 5 times negative 1. Multiply the denominators, 3 times 7. Step 5, reduce. Just double check to see if it is in lowest terms, which it is. And then step 6 is to change improper to mixed, and we don't have improper. And so we circle our answer. Number 2, step 1, change mixed to improper. So what we do for both of these, we'll have to. We take the denominator times the whole number and then add the top. So we do 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 1, which is 10. The denominator stays the same. And this is a negative. Negative 2 and 5, 6. Go backwards here. You can see I kind of make this C. I call it the backward C. I first multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 5 gives me 17. So I have 17. And the denominator stays the same. Step 2 is only for division. Step 3, reduce. I can reduce the 10 and the 6 by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Negative 10 divided by 2 gives me that negative 5. Then I have a 17 and 3. They don't have a common factor other than 1. Step 4, multiply my numerators. A negative times a negative is a positive. And I have 5 times 17, which is 85. Multiply my denominators, 3 times 3. Step 5, reduce if necessary. Step 6, change improper to mixed. 9 doesn't go into 85 evenly because this right here is 85 divided by 9. I do know that 81 is divisible by 9. 81 divided by 9 is 9. So if I take 81 away from the 85, I have 4 left over, and then our denominator stays the same. Double check and make sure the fraction part of your mixed number is in lowest terms. 12.5 divided by 3/4. First, step 1, change the mixed to improper. 2 times 12 plus 1 gives us 25. Denominator stays the same. We're dividing by 3/4. Step 2 does take place here because it's a division problem. I have a little saying, when it says divide, don't cry, just flip and multiply. So we're going to flip the second fraction. We're going to find the reciprocal. When the reciprocal is when you switch the numerator and denominator around. That's to just only the second rational number. The minute we do that, the division sign becomes multiplication. The first rational number here stays the same. So now we're on to step 3, reduce if necessary. 4 and 2 can both be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2. Step 3 we did, so step 4 we're going to multiply the numerators. We have 25 times 2, which gives us 50. And we have 1 times 3. Definitely have an improper fraction here. 50 is not divisible by 3. And then I work backwards from 50. 49 isn't. 48 fits that rule. 4 plus 8 is 12, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So 48 divided by 3 gives us 16. If you take 48 away from the 50, you're left with 2. And then our denominator stays the same. And so there we go. We have 16 2/3. Number 4 here, we have 3/4 times y is the same as negative 1/8. Now we want to isolate the y on the left-hand side. So in order to do that, we see it's 3/4 times y. So we're going to do the opposite of multiplication, because this right here means they're multiplying. The opposite of multiplication, we're going to divide both sides. We're going to divide by that number that the y is being multiplied by, which is a rational number, 3/4. So we're going to, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. See, what happens here is 3/4 divided by 3/4 is 1. So we're left with 1y. What we have to do over here on the right side is negative 1/8 divided by 3/4. Notice how I'm rewriting it. Step 1, change mixed to improper. We don't have to do. Step 2, when it says divide, don't cry, just flip and multiply. Reduce the 4 and the 8 by 4. Multiply. Negative 1 times 1. 2 times 3. It's in lowest terms. So we come over here. So y equals negative 1/6. Now, since we have an equation here, we're going to take negative 1/6 and we're going to replace it with the y. So do 3/4 times negative 1/6. I reduce the 3 and the 6. I get negative 1 over 8, which checks. It's correct. Can you say I can multiply and divide rational numbers? Here's your output to work out on the left side of your notebook. Be prepared with any questions for the work time in class.